What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today I'm going to talk about the off-season moves that the Washington franchise can make that is going to make them actual champions next year. I'm not saying that they'll win the Super Bowl with these moves, but what I am saying is that these moves will put them on a path to winning for a very long time. But only these moves can be made. If they do anything besides these moves, it's going to cause things that's going to not have the same ripple effects that you would want in normal teams. But like I said, certain moves, these particular moves, one, will help us in the long term. And again, like I said, will make us champions. So with that being said, these are the Frustrated Fans' top off-season moves that can be made to make us champions. Move number one, release Alex Smith. Alex Smith is going to cost us about $24 million next year. If we release him, we'll get $14 million back. So for me, that's something that's very vital and important. We can't rely on Alex Smith. Alex Smith is a quarterback on his way out the door. And even with that, we saw even in this season that we can't really rely on him long term. We might be able to rely on him for 5 games, but into 6, 7, 8, 9 games, he may not be able to stand up. And we saw that leg probably wasn't strong enough to take on the wear and tear of an NFL season, especially the impact of 16 games. So number one, release Alex Smith. Number two, release Landon Collins. I know for some of y'all that may be a touchy thing. And at the same time, he doesn't save us a lot of money in regards to releasing him. But at the same time, Cameron Curl played very well last year. And the fact that he did it as a rookie, and he'll be going into his second year of playing, I feel that it's time to move on from Landon Collins. He doesn't really contribute as much as most people would want him to. Now, he only will save us $4 million against the cap, but to me, it's one of those things where I just feel it's just time to move on. There are a lot of young safeties in this draft, a lot of good quality safeties in this draft, and I think we can pick up another one in this particular draft, and for that particular reason, Landon Collins has to be released. Number three, and this may touch a lot of you in the wrong way, but do not re-sign Brandon Sheriff. Now, I will say this, I have a solution for that, but with that being said, $15 million a year for a non-special player. And what I mean by that is that a non-impact player, I would say. A guy who isn't a wide receiver or a running back or a stellar middle linebacker or a stellar safety. $15 million is a whole lot for a guy, especially when you think about the makeup of our offensive line in the following year, even without Brandon Sheriff. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I understand. He was an all-pro. He's been to the Pro Bowl. But at the same time, at some point, you have to move on. Because at some point, a guy has just priced himself out of your ability to keep him on, along with trying to do other things around him. So with that being said, not signing Brandon Sheriff is my third off-season move. To impact that move, what I suggest is that we sign Austin Blythe from the Los Angeles Rams. Blythe is actually a very sturdy guard. Not only that, he's very cheap as well. You're talking about a guy who, in comparison to Brandon Sheriff, he may not be a Pro Bowler, but he's a guy that has been very durable in his time in the NFL. I mean, last year, the last NFL season, he played 16 games. The season before that, he played 15. The season before that, he played 16. So you're talking about a guy that you're going to have long term, and a guy who's shown that he's going to possibly be there all 16 games. Not only that, he may only cost us about maybe $4, possibly $5 million a year. So understand that. If you're thinking about Brandon Sheriff at 30 years old, when he's going to be 30 going into the season, Austin Blythe is actually going to be, I think he'll be 29 going into the end of the season. So with that, I would rather take the younger option that is probably just as good. And even when you think about the running game, you really, really want a guy who can really basically, who's been in a running system that has worked before. So Austin Blythe actually will work for us. And depending on which guard spot he's more comfortable at, the benefit we have is Wes Schweitzer is interchangeable in the guard positions. So for me, Austin Blythe is the guy to sign. If we can't get Austin Blythe, Forrest Lamp from the Los Angeles Chargers may be the next best thing. He is younger, but he may be the next best thing. He also played 16 games last year. Not as durable as Austin Blythe in the previous years, but to me, again, these are moves that we should make. Number 4 actually leads me from what I just talked about in Austin Blythe in the running game, and that's sign Aaron Jones. Now, I know he's going to go for market value, which is about $14 million a year. But I will say this. We were sold a false bill of goods on Antonio Gibson. Aaron Jones is exactly what we want to look for in a running back to be. This guy had, I think it was like 3,000 all-purpose yards last year. I mean, he is a all-around back. Not only that, he can play all 3 downs. So with those elements being involved, I think that we should bring in Aaron Jones. Not only that, if you bring in a guy like Aaron Jones, it helps with Antonio Gibson's development a little bit better, because then he'll have a real-time type of running back that he can actually model himself after. And for me, Aaron Jones meets all those criteria, because you're talking about this guy is instant offense. Not only that, you're talking about you pair him up in the backfield with Aaron Jones and J.D. McKissic, and you can probably have 2 of the most dangerous running back tandems in the whole league, along with Antonio Gibson coming off the bench to even be the power back until he learns more from Aaron Jones to become that all-around back that you will be looking for from him. But for me, Aaron Jones is the move. Next, the next thing, sign Juju SmithSchuster. Now, again, he comes with a very high price tag as well at $16 million a year. But when you think about pairing him with Terry McLaurin, he makes the perfect 1A to Terry McLaurin's number 1. So I would go after Juju SmithSchuster because, again, you're talking about a guy who comes from that Pittsburgh system, who knows what it's like to actually go out there and work. But not only that, he does show a little bit of aggressiveness when it comes to playing in a manner that is beneficial for his team. Again, you're talking about, just with the people that I just said, you're talking about the possibility of having Aaron Jones, J.D. McKissic, Terry McLaurin, and Juju SmithSchuster. You're already talking about instant offense. That is dependent upon the quarterback, but you're talking about very, very instant offense. And for me, we have to do what we can to bring in Juju SmithSchuster to be a perfect complement to Terry McLaurin. Next, we have to re-sign Ronald Darby. Ronald Darby has been a very reliable cornerback this year for us. The benefit we got with him is that he's not at market value. So we can actually bring him back for about another increase of $3 million more. We could possibly bring him back for $6 million a year. Now, I understand some people are going to say, we just signed Kendall Fuller to 10. but it doesn't matter. We can actually bring Ronald Darby back at 6, maybe even 7 million a year. Again, that doesn't put us in a bad position because, again, he played very well in this system. He's also had an issue of an injury history, but guess what? He played all 16 games this year. So why not give him a nice little increase of $3 to $4 million? I don't see a deal where he gets $7 million a year and he still be satisfied with what we giving him. But with that being said, we actually do need to bring back Ronald Darby. Number 8. And this is a very key thing. In this draft, we have to draft Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton actually marks off a lot of check marks for us in regards to being a player of need and being the best player at that position. When it comes down to it, I've said this in my previous video, Nick Bolton to me is the best linebacker in this draft. He's fast, he's sideline to sideline, he crashes the line very well, he takes great angles to make tackles, and he has almost 0 holes in his game. He's everything you need in a middle linebacker. Now, in regards, and not only that, he's also the prototypical guy that normally Baltimore drafts. The guy who's just everything, every play type of guy. And I think that's what, and I honestly feel that's what Nick Bolton is. And we really need to pay attention to Nick Bolton and get him in here. Like I said, I just feel that when you think about it, we can have a linebacker core of Nick Bolton in the middle, who's a fast sideline to sideline linebacker. Cole Holcomb, again, at the strong side, sideline to sideline fast linebacker. And Kaliki Hudson at the weak side. You could have the fastest linebacking, young linebacker core that the NFL has ever seen. And we know when it comes to this passing league NFL, you need guys who are fast, but not only that, strong at the point of attack. And to me, Nick Bolton is that guy. Last but not least, and this is going to trouble a lot of you because everybody's been talking about Matthew Stafford. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to give up the draft picks. I understand wanting Matthew Stafford, but that comes with a lot of things that's going to be a lot of impossible things that's going to have to happen for us to get him. Another thing is that he's got to want to come here. He's not going to want to come here. He wants to win immediately. And for him, there are stops he can go. Indianapolis, New England, New Orleans. He can go places where he can win immediately. Hell, even if he wanted to go to Atlanta, he could actually win immediately. But for us, we don't need to be barking up that tree. So I've come up with a solution that could help us long term and won't cost us much. My solution is this. Offer Jacksonville a 4th round pick for Gardner Minshew. Now, but before you go irate and anything like that, understand my reasoning for this. Gardner Minshew is actually a very quality quarterback. We saw what he can do. The problem last year he had was that he played in Jay Gruden's poor offense. And that is why his numbers didn't look as good. But let me explain that too. Even though his numbers weren't what they were the year before, understand he still had almost 2,300 yards passing. Not only that, he had 16 touchdowns to, I think, 5 or 6 interceptions. So even with that, he had 3 games of under 200 yards passing. But in those 3 games, he threw 6 touchdowns, 0 picks. Gardner Minshew could actually shore up our quarterback situation for a while. Not only that, he's still on a rookie contract. So that means we wouldn't have to worry about the quarterback position for a while if we would have gone after Gardner Minshew. Now, I did say offer a 4th round pick. Jacksonville may want a 3rd rounder. They may want a 3rd rounder. But let's start off by offering a 4th round pick before we give up something bigger. And I feel that, in all honesty, when you put in Gardner Minshew as your quarterback with Aaron Jones as this all-purpose back, Juju Smith-Schuster paired up with Terry McLaurin, plus J.D. McKissick, and not to mention Logan Thomas still being that whatever release valve that you want him to, you're now talking about a high-powered offense that you didn't have last year. And then when you change over to the defense and you add that Nick Bolton, who now solidifies your linebacking core, you're talking about a team built to win a championship. And those, to me, are the moves that need to be made this offseason to keep this team on the right path. And not only that, keep this team keep this team's chances of actually winning a Super Bowl very high without, at the end of the day, spending tons and tons of money or losing tons of draft capital, which hinders you in the future. I want y'all to tell me what y'all think about the offseason moves that I propose. And tell me if y'all feel that there are ones that can be made that can also benefit us, but at the same time won't cost us much. Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.